Hi, here's Steph's World, episode 9. First of all, I want to wish all you fathers out there a happy Father's Day. I did an episode right around Mother's Day because, especially you, Lee, hang in there, darling. I know how tough it is. I understand. I'm with you. Lee is my son's father, and my son passed away, as I repeatedly talked about. Transition, I like to say. A lot's going on in my world. That's why there haven't been any new episodes. Well, where do I start? I was going to go to Kansas City for a number of reasons, but that didn't pan out. So apparently my creator did not wish for me to go at this particular time. And after all the wonderful things that happened, and I'm being a little sarcastic about that, which is part of my nature. I'm sorry, it's part of the old hippie biker chick part, okay? There's nothing I can do about that. But a lot of things did happen, and they were tough. Really, really tough. And I pray to my creator that I created more or less chaos. Let's put less chaos by staying out of it, by staying down here where I'm at, close to Savannah. Yes, it's a hot one down here. But we had some rain last weekend. Wow, man. Talk about thunderstorms and everything else. We got it. I thought maybe we were having a hurricane out on the Atlantic. I don't know. But anyway, it's back to pure sunshine now. Anyway, here's the deal. I'm not doing this video because of Father's Day. I'll be very frank and honest. I'm doing it for my mother, of all people, and my father. Maybe I am doing it for Father's Day now that I think about it. Hey, welcome to my world. You know, I can always change my mind. Anyway, my mother, just frankly, putting it straight as I can, is scheduled, so to speak, to pass on. The doctors have given her a time frame about that. I was a programmer for probably 25, 30 years. I know what being a doctor would be like. In fact, I even thought about going back to college and taking my MCATs and going to medical school. Not that long ago, as a matter of fact. UMKC in Kansas City was happy to get me. Why not? I got a 3.8 GPA. Of course they wanted me. But here's the problem. Number one, I'm not that young anymore. And number two, I am disabled. I may not appear disabled, but trust me, I am. Now, we could make a joke out of that and say, is it up here, or is it truly the body? Well, maybe it's both, okay? Anyway, I better start getting on with it because I only have 15 minutes with YouTube, okay? Now, my mother was in the hospital for pneumonia for almost a whole week. I knew she was sick. I already knew that. I tried to tell the family I believe she is sick. She probably needs serious medical treatment. But my mother has Alzheimer's. And the problem with Alzheimer's is that you never know what the patient is going to say. You never know what's going to pop out of their mouths and whether or not they're in this world or their own world or somewhere else. The problem with my mother was that up until a few weeks ago, it seemed like she could still comprehend things to a point. But deep down, I heard my father tell me on numerous occasions, remember, I hear that 100 times a day. Okay, I do remember that, Dad, and I do know it. I do understand it. Even though I'm not with you, I understand it. I can't even begin to imagine it. They did a movie about an Alzheimer's lady. I don't know if it's legal for me to reference the name of this movie, but it just caught my heart. And I wish to God that we could do that for my mother right now, but she has more problems than just Alzheimer's. She has serious heart disease. The last time I talked about soul sickness, and I even talked about her, because she has heart disease, and because she is an Alzheimer's patient, and if you knew about her life, which I'm going to finish writing about the maternal side of my family, then you'll understand. I have a document called Spiritual Foundations under Steph Spiritual 20 under Google Docs. And it's broken up into different pieces. There's an introduction, there's a table of contents, there's chapter 1 today. In fact, I'm going to add to that because it's a work in progress. Isn't life a work in progress? Okay. Anyway, I had a lot of thoughts about Alzheimer's today, and I'm going to verbalize those as best I can. I wrote to my father that, in a way, my mother is in two worlds. She's in our world, the one that we physically are in today, that if we're mentally deemed stable, that we understand. And then there's another periods or other periods where she's in her own world, or a past world, or maybe a world we've never even seen before. Now, some people think of Alzheimer's as a horrible disease because they see a person degenerate into almost a baby-fied existence. Maybe that's true. And Dad, if you ever watch this, please don't take it wrong. But I honestly believe that in some ways we are seeing bits and pieces of my mother's soul. Her soul is what we're seeing. Yes, her mind seems to be doing strange things, going back and forth in the world, in her life, through her life. But what we're seeing right now may be the bits and pieces of my mother's soul. And maybe other people who have had Alzheimer's in their lives can relate to this. My goodness, it is so terrible to begin to talk about it, to begin to try to relate what it's done to my family. It's torn us up. My father called me this morning and gave me a rundown of everything he was doing. I think he feels like he needs to check in with me, and I'm glad. Thank you, Dad. Thank you for doing that because we love him and we're worried about him. He had to put her in a home. Um, but I want to get back to this part about my mother and the fact that they gave her a time limit. We don't know how long we have. Nobody knows how long anybody has. My grandmother, my father's mother, lived to be, I don't know if she was 103 when she passed or transitioned or if she was 102, but regardless, she was over 100 years old. Okay? Unbelievable. She ate whatever the heck she wanted. She was a hard driving woman. She did whatever she wanted. She pistol whipped a woman when she was 84 years old. I mean, that was one heck of a woman, let me tell you. And if you start to read my spiritual foundations, I talk a lot about her and her life because it explains a lot of my paternal side of my family. Remember, that document is a living document. It is a true story of a real family. And I haven't even gotten to the good stuff yet. At least they tell me it is. But anyway, so getting back to good old Alzheimer's and the soul. My mother became a whole different person. When she started, really, we knew that she really had it. She was not the mother I grew up with. She was not the mother I had when I was raising my children. She became the mother I always wanted. And for a time, I had the most wonderful mother in the world. It was a gift, an absolute gift. And I thank God every day for it. I really don't think that people should be angry or that upset over that disease. I think there's a lot more to that disease that we just simply don't understand. And I believe it is a spiritual disease. I honestly do. And it's part of that soul sickness concept that I referred to in one of my other According to Steph episodes. Okay? One last thing I'm going to talk about real quick again is the I have to's and the I don't have a choice. Okay? There were, for most of my life, up until about 17 years ago, that came out of my mouth all the time. I have to do this. I don't have a choice. Hey man, we have a choice. We can do any darn thing we want. I don't need anybody else's approval. As long as I am working within the boundaries and guidelines of my Creator and what is set forth in my heart, my divine heart, what I believe in, then that's where I go. And those are my boundaries. And by the way, I'm not talking about limitations. I'm not limited by any means. I'm not going to be limited. And if you are, and I'm not judging anyone, if you tell me I've done the same thing over and over again for the last 20 years, what does that say? That says I am a limited person. Changing yourself is an unlimited thing. And thank